namaskar, good morning, bonjour. Thank you for coming out on a Saturday morning, right after Mahashivratri, to this education fair. As Mr. Sheshadri mentioned, this is the first time that we are having such an education fair in a long time, and the first one that I am attending in my 3 years here. So I want to begin by congratulating TICE Global and CA Counseling Services for organizing this. And also a big thank you to all our Mauritian partners who have come here to listen to us and participate in this education fair. I think all of us realize that education is the new currency of national power in a global knowledge economy. If you ask me, I think it is education that defines the quality of our political leadership, the quality of our institutions, the quality of our governance, certainly the quality of our economy, the quality of manufacturing, quality of innovation, entrepreneurship, research, science, even the quality of our societies, the civic consciousness that a country represents, the quality of inclusion, of pluralism, democratic values, community welfare. And what does all this amount to? It amounts to how your country is perceived in the world, your national reputation. It amounts to why businesses would like to come and invest in your countries, why foreign students would want to come and study in your countries. So to me, personally, education is at the heart of a nation. And I come from India. I represent a country which is the world's most populous country today. About 1.45 billion people. The population of my country is more than the combined population of the 27 countries of the European Union, the United States, Russia, United Kingdom, Canada, Switzerland, and some more countries. What does this mean? It means that 1 in every 6 human beings on this planet is Indian. Also, India is not just the most populous country of the world. India is also the country with the largest global diaspora. About 32 million Indians live abroad. And what is even more important is India is the largest youth country of the world today. More than half of India is less than 25 years old. More than half of India is almost the age of my son. What does this mean to us? We are talking about an education fair with a country which will be increasingly the global supplier of labor force and also global leadership. I was ambassador to Portugal before coming here, and Portugal had an Indian origin prime minister. I'm now in Mauritius, where we have another Indian origin prime minister. And now the United Kingdom, which ruled India, has an Indian origin prime minister. The vice president of the US is of Indian origin. And the prime minister of Canada told our prime minister, Mr. Modi, once, I have more Sardarjis in my cabinet than you do, Prime Minister Modi. So, this is an inevitable reality. But why is this pertinent to an education fair? I tell youngsters everywhere, invest in a connection with India. Because sooner or later, you're going to have an Indian boss, you're going to have Indian colleagues, if you're doing business with India. Not just that, I think most of you here know that India is the world's 5th largest economy today. And just a very few years from now, we are going to be the 3rd largest economy Wouldn't you want to invest your future in a country which will be not just the world's biggest democracy, not just the world's third largest economy, but also a country with whom Mauritians share such deep cultural linkages, linguistic familiarities? You have an advantage that very few people in the world have. So I think an education fair in Mauritius is probably the place where ties global and the education institutions need to start. So, given that we have this enormous demographic dividend in India, we are investing big time in education. Some of you might have heard, in India today, every day 2 new colleges open. Every week 1 new university is inaugurated. And in the last 10 years alone, in just the last decade, we have had 5,709 new colleges in India, 320 new universities, 209 new medical colleges, 15 new AIMS, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, 7 new IITs, 7 new IIMs. And it's not just the quantity, it's also the quality. By the way, most of these new institutions are in rural areas of India. And when I say quality, I'm referring to our new education policy, which we rolled out in the year 2020. This is going to be transformative. It's going to change our traditional, I would say, colonial legacy in education to preparing India for a global leadership role, preparing Indians for a new India that leads the world, not just economically, but ethically, towards a peaceful, tolerant, more secure world. The new education policy, as many of you know, shifts the focus from rote learning, which was colonial legacy we inherited, to concept-based learning, conceptual learning. Also to multidisciplinary learning. Even the IITs are going to have history and literature very soon to offer to students. We're going to have continuous assessment rather than the final exam stress that Indians complain about, and rightly so. So you're going to look at a qualitative change and a quantitative change in India, and I think that India will be a global education superpower very soon. It's just a matter of time. And this is not just good for India, it's good for the world. Because if 1 out of 6 people is Indian, wouldn't you want that person to be educated, empowered, to contribute to a better world? Yes, certainly. And it's going to be wonderful for the India-Mauritius relationship. As all of you know, India and Mauritius share a very close, a unique and extraordinary partnership. And it's not just today, it started even before our 2 countries became independent. And education was the pivot that changed the equation. Why? Because most of the Indians who came here came as indentured laborers to work in the sugarcane plantations. And it was Mahatma Gandhi who transformed their destiny from coolies to becoming leaders of this country through one magic bullet: education. He told them, you may have come here as illiterate indentured workers, but educate yourselves. Educate your children, participate in politics, leverage your demographics. And so, you have the Mauritius that you see today, with Indian origin leadership leading the country. Once again, education has the power to take this bilateral relationship to the next level. We already have, I think, 2 medical colleges here. We now have the Vellore Institute of Technology coming in. We have been lucky to have EdSil here. Is EdSil present today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So EdSil, through EdSil, the Government of India distributed about 53,000 e-tablets to school children in Mauritius a few years ago. These were small iPad kind of tablets given to school children between grades 1 and 3. And this was so popular that the government of Mauritius has now extended it with their own funding to higher classes also. But we need to do more. What can we do? To my mind, two things come readily. Number one, attracting more Mauritians to study in India. Because one of the assets we have in this country are those Mauritians who studied in India and are now in leadership positions in the country. So we still give about 60 scholarships every year to Mauritians to study in India, and there are many who go on a self-financing basis also. We also have ITEC training for about 400 people every year, and in the last few years we have trained or given education online, distance learning through something called the E-Vidya Bharati project. This is virtual education, it's open to everybody, and it's absolutely free. But we need more Mauritians going and studying in India. I believe that India is one of the top 5 destinations for African students in the world today. And more than 25,000 African students study in India. More than 25,000. But the number of Mauritians is not very big, and we need to work on that. Here I invite all of you, professionals in the area of education, especially institutions like TIES Global and CA Counseling Services. We need to get the word out to Mauritians that you're investing in your own future when you invest in education in India. And to leverage the bilingualism, the cultural connect, the linguistic familiarity, the close bonds between India and Mauritius, to study in India. And also to speak about the new education policy, the qualitative difference in educational institutions, that India no longer affords simply affordable education. It's affordable, high quality education. And the second thing that comes to my mind is that we need to bring more Indian educational institutions to Mauritius. There are too few, frankly, for the kind of relationship we share, for where India is, and how much of a win-win collaboration this is for both countries. Many of you would have heard that the government of Mauritius wants to have an education hub in Côte d'Or, the new smart city. And the government of Mauritius is willing to subsidize land, to provide various facilities. So I invite Indian educational institutions to make use of the provision in the new education policy, which allows Indian educational institutions to open foreign campuses. Earlier, there were legal and regulatory restrictions on this, but this has been lifted now. I would encourage Mauritian entities also to identify partner institutions that you'd like to see in India. Make a trip to India, reach out, lobby a bit, market yourselves, and likewise, Indian institutions need to market themselves here. For instance, we now have a new IIT in Tanzania. Why not a new IIM in Mauritius? After all, Mauritius is an international financial center. You have the world's biggest and best management companies located here. You have all the international banks, financial institutions. I think an IIM here with a Pan-Africa outreach would be a great way forward. And any educational institutions that is headquartered in Mauritius will by default need to have a Pan-Africa approach, like the IIT Tanzania has. We need to get students from all over Africa to come to Mauritius and study in an Indian institution like the IIM. And I think Mauritius presents a wonderful case. Can you imagine anyone who's on the continent of Africa? They would love to spend 3 years in a beautiful country like Mauritius. The most peaceful, the most prosperous, the most democratic country in this region. And if they could save money by not going all the way to India, by studying in Mauritius, I think it makes an excellent financial case too. It's great for Mauritius, great for India, great for Africa, a win-win all around. But it needs more work. And to be honest, somehow this has not been a great focus so far. And I hope that this event today, the education fair, will actually move things in this direction. And as India becomes a global powerhouse of education, I would also like to see education becoming a flagship area of collaboration between India and Mauritius, just as our development partnership is today. When you talk about India and Mauritius, people talk about the metro, about the ENT hospital, about the Swami Vivekananda Convention Center, or the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Tower, which is in Ebene. I want people to talk about education, about how Mauritius is where Africans could go for high quality, affordable Indian education. Let's make this happen. Thank you.